things to talk about today. So we're going to be talking about prompting, how to prompt, how to use that to plan lessons, to gamify our lessons. So the idea is to make the most from AI, make sure that we use it as a tool. We're going to see some practical examples. I'm going to show you some things that I did to plan my lessons and also to work with my students. And if you happen to have questions, doubts, or anything, you just tell me or use the chat. All right. This workshop is for you. So you tell me. All right. All right. So before we begin, super important, you don't need to have the premium version of ChatGPT. If you have it, fantastic, but I don't. And these are all things that I did at some point. So if you Right, so prompting, let's begin. Before we even start prompting, something that we can do, to make sure that we get like the results we're looking for, the output we're looking for, the lesson plans, the activities we're looking for, we can, tell ChatGPT a little bit about ourselves, who we are, what we do, and what it is that we're looking for. So to do that, we can go to ChatGPT. We're going to click on our profile picture, and then we're going to see this menu right here. And we're going to click where it says Customize ChatGPT. Once we click there, we're going to see something like this. And here we can kind of like introduce ourselves, let's say. The cool thing is that ChatGPT is going to provide us with some questions so that, the moment we have to tell ChatGPT who we are, we're like, okay, what am I supposed to share? So we have some ideas here. And I have some other questions here, some other ideas. For us teachers, right? Like if we're going to use ChatGPT to plan our lessons, to come up with activities and so on, we can tell ChatGPT a little bit about our profession or about our role. For example, primary school teachers and business English teachers that work with adults, they all have similar goals. They want to teach, but they're going to do that differently, right? So that's important as well. So we can say, for example, I'm a teacher of English as a foreign language, and I work with intermediate level students, and I plan lessons, right? Or, for example, I want to design engaging lesson plans. Or, for example, when it comes to my preferred communication style, I want you to provide me with examples all the time. So if I ask you for an activity, give me an example. If I ask you for, some kind of rule, whatever, give me examples always. I want real world examples. I want to know how my students are supposed to do something. So examples, always. Example. Topics of interest. I'm a teacher and I'm really interested in helping my students improve their speaking skills. Or maybe the students I'm working with, maybe they're really into movies, or they love novels, or they love, anything that has to do with Netflix. Whatever. So, ChatGPT knows what topics you're interested in, or your students are interested in. So, he's going to keep that in mind. And limitations or challenges, super important. For example, I teach online and some of my students are not very tech savvy. So, the moment I ask you for activities, give me interesting, fun, engaging activities, but make sure they are practical. All right. I don't want to do something that's very complicated or, just give me practical ideas. All right. So, for example. All right. So ChatGPT knows a little bit about us, who we are, what we need, what we're looking for. And now we can start prompting. And this is the thing. There are lots of different prompting techniques. I picked these two because, being teachers, I think that these are the ones we're going to be using the most. So we have long detailed prompts and we have step-by-step prompts. So long detailed prompts are basically, very detailed, longer prompts that are going to include everything that ChatGPT needs to know in order to give us whatever it is that we're looking for. an activity, a lesson plan, a test, whatever. And, the more information we include, the better. For example, write a lesson plan for a 45-minute general English lesson on the past simple tense for intermediate learners. Include a warm-up, presentation, practice activities, and a cool-down activity. Make it interactive and suitable for a group of 15 students. So ChatGPT knows who I am working with, what their level is, how many students I have, what I have to work on, what type of activities I'm looking for, and how much time I have, right? Then, of course, ChatGPT is going to provide me with something. If I like it, I can use it. If I don't, I can edit it, I can tweak it, I can regenerate it. Now we're going to see what happens when we're not getting the results we want. But ChatGPT knows everything he needs to know. Now, another thing that we can do is go with step-by-step prompts. So basically, instead of asking ChatGPT to do something for us, we're going to do it together. So we're going to break down the process, and every time ChatGPT provides me with something, I'll see if I really like it or not, if I find it useful or not, and then I'm going to ask him to do another thing. For example, ChatGPT, suggest a topic for a lesson aimed at teaching narrative tenses. You can talk about your weekend. I mean, that's good. But I always ask my students about their weekend. No, I want something different. I want to talk about something else. Okay, how about your last holiday? Okay, I like that topic. So now, using that topic, outline a warm-up activity for this lesson. And then it will provide me with an activity. Let's see, do I like it? Yeah, no, maybe. I might want to regenerate it. Now I like it. Okay, cool. Now suggest, a main activity or a practice activity or a reading for gist activity or a whatever to work on this, right? So we're working together. So ChatGPT creates something for me. I see if I like it. If I do, we keep going together. If I don't like it, I regenerate it. I ask for a different alternative. I took the prompt, maybe there was something that was not really useful when it came to guiding ChatGPT. So let's go again. Right? And it all depends on what we're looking for, what we need. But, both are good. All right. So some things that we can include when we write prompts are a persona. So who is ChatGPT supposed to be? I know doctors are great, but I wouldn't ask a doctor to plan a lesson for me. So I would say something like, you are an experienced primary school teacher, or you are a business English teacher that thinks, outside the box and comes up with very creative lesson plans, Context, super important. Where are you working? What resources do you have? What possibilities do you have? How much time do you have with your students? And you can say, for example, you work in a state-run school, or you work at a bilingual school, or you work at an institute and you get to see students twice a week, or you get to see students every single day and you work at a very nice primary school where you have, maybe 10 students and you get to do lots of things with them. Or you work at a huge school and you have 45 students. You don't get to listen to all of them at the same time. You have to make sure that everyone has something to do so that you can go and work with different students. You tell him, yeah. Task. What do you have to do? And super important, what's the end goal? Because if you say, for example, come up with an activity to work on speaking, ChatGPT will give you an activity to work on speaking. But one thing is to work on taking turns, and another thing is to work on sharing or talking for 3 minutes on your own. So what is it? You have to think about what you want to work on with your students, what skills you want them to develop, what they already know, what their needs are. And based on that, you say, okay, so I need this activity or this, right? Formats. ChatGPT is going to provide you with some output. How do you want it to be formatted? Do you want an email so that you can use that as a model for a writing lesson? Do you want your students to be able to see how they can write a report about this, and that? Do you need a table? Maybe you're planning a lesson and you need a table with certain columns because then you have to hand in. I know maybe you're about to be observed or you need to hand in that. I know you need to give it to the director at the place where you work. Do they ask you, I don't know, for a specific format or something like that? Do you want a paragraph? Maybe, I don't know, you're about to work on vocabulary and you want to contextualize some of the vocabulary items in the book you're using. You know, maybe some books, they have like everything you need to work on and they're great, but you have like a bunch of, I don't know, phrasal verbs or a list of words. You're like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? So maybe you want a paragraph or you want sentences or you want something to contextualize the vocabulary you have there, you know, to supplement the book you're using, for example. We can share an example, you know, to guide ChatGPT and say, okay, this is what I need, right? This is the format I'm looking for. This is what I need you to give me. And if we're using it to design materials for our students, we might want to add something like the tone, I know, be friendly or sound confident or sound surprised, right? I don't know, depends on what we're looking for. Something that we can include as well. So if we keep all of this in mind and we use all these things, let me show you something before. If we want to include examples, something that we can do, you know, if you are using the internet and you happen to find, I know, something that you like, maybe there's a text, a model, something, and you say, hey, I want this, I know, this email I have here, but I want like an informal version, just so that my students can compare and contrast both emails and see what changes, what structures we use, I don't know, how the language we use changes. We can take a screenshot or copy that picture, that email, that whatever that's already on the internet. We can copy it. Then we can go to ChatGPT, paste it, and then we can type. So use this model to come up with an informal version so that my students can compare and contrast this, and that. I know, write in bold the language that you change so that I can see it, or highlights, I don't know, whatever, right? But, you know, it's another thing that we can do, especially if we want to share examples with ChatGPT. I know exactly what I want. I want this email. I don't have enough time to rewrite it myself, but I want this one. So here you have an example. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Oh, something to keep in mind. All right, now, yeah, so if we keep all of this in mind, this is what a very complete, very detailed prompt would look like, right? Let's break it down. So these are all the elements that we have. We have our persona. You're an experienced primary school teacher of English. We provided ChatGPT with some context. So we're working with 6th grade Argentine kids in a state-run school. The task for ChatGPT is to create a 40-minute lesson plan to teach the water cycle. The goal is for students to understand the key stages, so evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and so on, and learn key vocabulary in English. These are the words, right, that I want them to learn. And by the end of the lesson, students should be able to explain the water cycle in English. Super important, because I don't want them to just read a text. I don't want them to work on listening. I don't want them to memorize a couple of words. No, I want them to be able to explain the water cycle in English. So we're probably going to need some activities that are going to guide them, right? That are going to allow them to practice, that are going to help them analyze how other people describe the process, right? There are certain activities that we're going to need. Format. For example, format the lesson plan in a table with the following columns. So stage, timing, activity description, and materials needed. I included an example because why not? So here's an example of the warm-up stage. So stage, warm-up, timing, 5 minutes, activity description, blah, 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 blah. And when it came to tone, I didn't say anything because it was a lesson plan. It was for me. So, I don't care if it sounds friendly or confident or whatever, just, I don't care right now. So I just left that one out. And this is let's say exactly what we need to make sure ChatGPT gives us exactly what we're looking for, what we need. Now, maybe it does not provide us with the lesson plan we had in mind. That's okay. Now we're going to see how we can tweak the prompt a little bit and what we can do when we're not getting the results we want. But right now we have everything we need. Now, you might be wondering, do I really need to type all of this? Because, it's a long prompt. And I thought the idea here was to save some time, to, make the whole process a bit more practical for teachers. We already have lots of things to do. Do I also need to type all of this? No, we don't. And let me show you, because there are many things that we can do. One of them is called context cheating. And this is the thing. It's 2025. So most probably whatever it is that we want to do with our students or to whatever material we want to create or whatever probably already exists. So something that we can do, for example, is go to the internet and say, for example, I want to use project-based learning, a project-based learning approach for my lesson, right? But there are lots of lesson plans out there that follow this approach. So I just went to the internet and I typed PBL lesson stages, and I came across this chart, and look now. So we have all the lesson stages that we need, all the stages of the project. I know I like this. I really like how everything is structured, and I would love to plan a lesson like this one, right? Or a series of lessons. So I'm going to copy this, I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to share my prompt. So you're an experienced primary school teacher of English, create a 40-minute lesson plan to teach the water cycle, right? And here, use the faces in the screenshot to organize the lesson. I don't need to type the example. I don't need to type all the lesson stages I need, all the lesson stages I want. So I included the vocabulary I need to work on, the stages that I was asked to work on at school. And here you have a screenshot. Here you have a picture. This is what I want. Use these lesson stages. And ChatGPT provided me with a lesson plan organized following those stages that I shared with it, right? I didn't need to type everything. Now, another thing that we can do is use the app. This is something I do all the time. So let me show you, we can do it together. So this is the app. You see, ChatGPT, you just download it there, it's free. Something that's super important is we have to open our accounts. So, you can just sign up by using your email address. Again, free. You don't need the paid version or anything, but I have it open right here. So I open it. Here, can you see? So now I'm going to go right here. Can you see that microphone over there? Yeah. So I'm going to type that. You are an experienced primary school teacher of English. Create a 40-minute lesson plan to teach the water cycle to 6th grade Argentine kids in a state-run school. The goal is for students to understand the key stages: evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and collection, and learn key vocabulary in English: evaporation, condensation, clouds, rain, water vapor. By the end of the lesson, students should be able to explain the water cycle in English. See? So I click there. ChatGPT is going to write what I just said. You see? And now I'm going to send it. And ChatGPT is going to start planning my lesson. So I don't know about you guys, but I find using my phone for this very uncomfortable. So I go to my browser, open ChatGPT, I copy that lesson, paste it on Google Drive or Google Files, and I start tweaking it, editing it. But the cool thing is that I already have something to work with. I didn't need to type the whole prompt, but it was very detailed. I included everything I needed. If I don't like what ChatGPT provides me with, I can regenerate it. But the cool thing is that I already have something to work with. And let me show you, because I have ChatGPT open right here. You see, so this is what I just said a second ago. You see, so it's my account. I have it open on my phone and here in my browser. And it says, here's a 40-minute lesson, right? It decided to use CLIL. That's good. I didn't clarify that. I could have said, use CLIL or use PBL or use whatever. I didn't, so ChatGPT chose for me. Maybe I can say, no, I didn't want that, do it again, for example. So this is my lesson plan. If I like it, great. If I don't, I can regenerate it. I can share a new prompt, but I already have something to work with. It's not just, a blank sheet of paper and me, right? All right. Let me go back to the presentation. All right. Another thing that we can do is, if you don't want to have the app and then you open it using your browser and so on, we can now talk with ChatGPT. Even if you go to your browser, you have this option now, this button. So you just click there, start talking, and ChatGPT will be listening to you. So another option, right? And here is the same example, but now using a step-by-step prompt. So you're an experienced primary school teacher of English. Create a warm-up activity for a lesson on the water cycle for 6th grade Argentine kids in a state-run school. Include an activity description, timing, and materials needed, and organize everything in a chart. If I like it, I keep going. If I don't, I regenerate it. Once I'm happy, now add a reading activity where students have to read this text. I can, share the text with ChatGPT. So maybe I already have that. Maybe I already have a book or a PDF or something that my school provided me with. So, we're creating the lesson together with ChatGPT. All right, so that was prompting. Let's see how we can use this to actually plan lessons or activities and how we can get them ready to use them with our students. So now we're going to create activities to focus on specific skills and specific learning outcomes. Because as I told you, if you ask ChatGPT to give you a speaking lesson or a speaking activity, it will, but it might not be what you need or what your students need. So let's see how we can make sure we get exactly what we're looking for. So this is a prompt I came up with. So you're a creative and experienced DSL teacher who works with teams. Come up with a free practice activity I can use to close a lesson on speaking lesson on hobbies, where my 16-year-old B2 students will practice talking about what they enjoy doing in their free time. Some of the hobbies we'll discuss are knitting, sewing, painting, photography, and do-it-yourself projects. The aim is for students to be able to hold the floor and speak at length. Super important. I don't want them to collaborate. I don't want them to say yes, no, I don't know. I want them to be able to hold the floor, right? So I shared this with ChatGPT. This is the activity ChatGPT provided me with, right? I liked it. I thought it was cool. I read it. I said, hey, that's nice. I think my students are going to like it. Good. But now we have to get ready, because one thing is what we get when we use ChatGPT, and another thing is what happens when we have to walk into the classroom, right? So let's get everything ready. Now we have a new prompt. Write the instructions so that my students can read them and know exactly what they have to do, because maybe I work with 35 students. I cannot be there for all of them at the same time. So I want to make sure I'm going to share the instructions, of course, but I also want them to have something that's very clear, right? Give them information on how they will know if they're doing a good job and the goal of this activity. And this is like a free practice activity. We're already closing the lesson, but just in case, provide them with useful phrases to complete the activity. Maybe we already worked on that. Maybe we don't need this, but just give them something to have. I know we can start adding these things if we want to. So ChatGPT provided me once again with everything I asked. Let's analyze this in detail. So we have the goal of the activity. It says, the goal of this activity is to practice speaking at length about your hobbies. So it's addressing students and convincing others that your hobby is interesting and worth trying. So you will know you're doing a good job if you speak clearly for about 2 minutes. You explain why you enjoy your hobbies and why others might enjoy it too, and respond to questions from your classmates with thoughtful answers. So even if I am helping a student and there's a group at the back, working and they know exactly what they have to do, I don't know, fast finishers, whatever, they have this list of things they have to do. So first, get ready, speak for 2 minutes, explain this, explain that. You're done, good. So now ask each other questions. So they know exactly what they have to do. Now, I also said give students instructions. So these are the instructions. So number 1, choose a hobby. Number 2, prepare your pitch. Number 3, present your pitch. And look, remember I said, can you provide me with some useful phrases they can use while they complete the activity? So my hobby is, it's a type of activity where I enjoy this hobby because I started doing it when, right? So they have something to work with. Again, maybe they don't need this because we covered this already in a previous stage, but we have it. And so we have everything, right? With choose a hobby, prepare your pitch, everything. And the cool thing is that because everything is organized this way, I am the teacher, and if there's something I don't like or I don't think is appropriate, I can change it. So maybe instead of saying pick a hobby, I can say pick one of the hobbies we talked about in class, or pick one of the hobbies, or you talk about the hobby that I assigned you, or talk about your favorite hobby. I don't care what hobbies we talked about before. Now it's time for you to talk about whatever you want to share with your classmates. Or, for example, here it says that you're going to talk for about 2 or 3 minutes. Or maybe, some students are going to be asked to speak for 1 minute, some others for 2 minutes, some others for 3 minutes. When we say, okay, everyone here in this row, 1 minute. Everyone here, 2 minutes. I don't know, your students, what they can and can't do yet, right? So you might want to change things a bit. All right. Now, let's use the same thing, but now we're going to plan a whole lesson, right? So we're going to take it to the next level. So once again, we have a prompt. So you are a creative and experienced ESL teacher who works with teens. Come up with a lesson plan on hobbies where my 16-year-old B2 students will talk about what they enjoy doing in their free time. Some of the hobbies we'll discuss are knitting, sewing, painting, photography, and do-it-yourself projects. The aim is for students to be able to hold the floor and speak at length. So we have the very same thing, but now I don't need an activity. I need the whole lesson. So ChatGPT provided me with a lesson, right? So I have a warm-up activity, vocabulary introduction, listening practice, speaking practice. Again, if I don't like it, I can regenerate it. I can say, I don't know, come up with a new speaking practice activity, or that is not how I want to introduce the vocabulary we're going to be working on. I don't know. You tell ChatGPT what you like and you don't like, right? And he's going to start changing things. Now, imagine I do like it. I say, hey, this is cool. I like it. I think my students are going to find it interesting. Let's get ready. So now we're going to see what we need to do in order to be able to use this with our students. And again, the fact that we're saying who our students are, how old they are, what they need to work on, what skill they need to develop, helps us make sure that, ChatGPT is not just giving us like a random speaking lesson that other teachers might be able to use. No, I need something for this group and this group alone. The output, will be targeting our students. We're going to be developing the skills or soft skills that our students need to develop. So it's cool because we're getting what we need, right? We're being very, very specific. So if we're not getting the results we want, again, you use the like or don't like button, right? You regenerate it, right? And that is also how you start training ChatGPT. No, I didn't like this. Oh, come on, don't be lazy. Oh, give me all the stages I need. Come on, you tell ChatGPT. He's not going to get angry. He's not going to stop working. So you tell him, all right? Another thing that we can do is say, okay, I don't really know what I'm looking for. I just know that this is not what I want or not what I had in mind. So can you give me a different response? Or I would like another take on that. Or I really like this lesson plan. It's really nice, very complete, very whatever. But I feel like we do this all the time. I want to do something different with my students. I have no idea what really. I don't know what it is that I'm looking for, but I just know that I want something different. So can you approach this from a different angle? And let's see what happens. Let's test that. So I had that beautiful lesson to talk about hobbies. And I said, hey, can you give me a different response? I'd like to work with the video. ChatGPT started planning my lesson. So it says, talking about hobbies with a video, level B2, age group 16-year-old teens. So, I have everything. Cool. I even have the objective. Take a look. I have some before watching activities, while watching activities, after watching activities. So, that's pretty cool. I have everything I need. That's great, right? So let's do something. Here it says that I can use a TED Ed video on how hobbies can improve mental health. So let's go to YouTube. So TED Ed video on how hobbies can improve mental health. But there's a video on how playing an instrument can benefit your brain. And there's a video on how playing sports benefits your body. But I don't have that video. I cannot find it. So turns out ChatGPT came up with the lesson, but he also came up with a random video that doesn't really exist. So what am I supposed to do now? I have this beautiful lesson plan, but I don't have the resources. So that's why it's super important to separate things and say, okay, ChatGPT can design things for me, but I also need to get those things ready before I walk into the classroom. So let's see what we can do. Let's solve this together. So we're going to try again. And just as we said before, we're going to be as specific as possible. So now we're going to be using AI for finding teaching resources. So once again, can you give me a different response? I would like to work with a video. Use the same before, while, and post-watching activities, but find 3 different videos I can use with my B2 students to talk about hobbies. I was super specific this time, and just design a lesson plan with a video, that's one thing. But find me the video I can use with my students, that's a different thing. So ChatGPT said, certainly, and it started providing me with a bunch of videos. So I have video number 1, real British English conversation, hobbies and interests. And I have my pre, while, and post-watching activities. Video number 2, hobbies, vocabulary, ESL. And video number 3, hobbies and interests, English ESL video lessons. And if you pay attention to this part, where it says like pre-watching activities, for example, you'll see that in this case, we have some discussion questions, and then we're going to create a mind map. And if we check out the other pre-watching activities, now this one's different. We have a matching activity and a survey. I told ChatGPT to use the same before, while, and post-watching activities, but ChatGPT said no. Now I have a real video. That activity is not going to work. So let me design new activities. And that's good, right? And this is the thing. If you scroll down, it depends on where you are with ChatGPT. So there are different options. If you scroll down, you might see a button like this one that says Fuentes, or if you have it in English, it might say sources, or I don't know, something in your language. So if you click there, you're going to see that a sidebar opens and you're going to find all the links to the things that ChatGPT found for you. Now, for example, I cannot really see this anymore. Now I can see the links at the end of the sentence. So maybe it says, I don't know, vocabulary, hobbies, vocabulary, ESL, and I have the link right there. So it depends on where you are with ChatGPT. You might have to scroll down and click there, or you might be able to just click right there. It says video, and then you have a button to click. So to click on, and that will take you to YouTube. So, but ChatGPT is always going to provide you with the links, right? If you are like specific and say, okay, find me a video, and let me show you. So here's a video, so that you can see how everything works. So that's the prompt. Can you give me a different response? I like to work with a video. Give me 3 different videos. So I have video number 1, real British English conversation. Video number 2, hobbies, vocabulary, ESL. And video number 3, hobbies and interests. I have all the activities. So I scroll down. I click where it says fuentes, sources, or whatever. Going to see the sidebar opening. I like video number 2, hobbies, vocabulary. So I go there, find it, click on it, and there we go. The video does exist, and I even have the link to it. I just have to click on it, and I'll be directed to that channel. So something to keep in mind. ChatGPT can find teaching resources, or just, I don't know, resources, videos, whatever it is we want, but we have to be specific. Now, if we're not getting the results we want, another thing that we can do is use the power of 3. Mind you, it just sounds good, but it can be the power of 3, 5, or 26. So it basically means that instead of asking ChatGPT to give you 1 activity or 1 video or 1 text, you say, provide me with 3 different videos, or give me 2 different texts, or 5 different activities. So it's the same activity, but give me 5 alternatives. And we're going to be able to pick the ones that we want, like I want this part and I want this other part, or, okay, this video is good, but this one's even better. So, we don't have to settle. Instead of asking for 1 thing, ask for 3. He's not going to get tired. And then you pick the ones that you like. So that's another option. That's what we just did with the videos. Another thing that we can do is use A/B testing. So we're going to use the very same prompt, but we're going to change it a little bit. So as you can see, this is the very same prompt we used before, but now we have option A and option B. So option A says tells ChatGPT everything he needs to know. So you're a creative and experienced teacher. I need a lesson plan to talk about hobbies. I'm working with 16-year-old B2 students. We're going to talk about hobbies, everything. And I also shared the vocabulary we're going to be working on, because it's in the book, because my director told me, because whatever. And then when we have option B, so it's the very same prompt, but I thought, hey, I'm not going to tell ChatGPT what vocabulary items we're going to be working on, because maybe it can provide me with other alternatives that I haven't thought of, or that are not in the book. Or maybe my book is a bit old already, and I want to see what other things people are talking about these days. So I'm not going to include that. But you know what? I am going to tell ChatGPT that my students are noisy and energetic, because, maybe the type of activities it provides me with are going to be a bit different. And I can share both. Again, he's not going to get tired. And I can say, okay, so option A is good, but hey, option B is even better. So we can share both with it and see which one we like best. And maybe I can use option A with third B, and maybe I can use option B with, third A. Right? Because, it's the same level, but groups are different. Students are different. So this is good for this one group, and this is good for this other group. So there's something that we can do. We can test our prompts and see what happens. And another thing that we can do, if we're not getting the results we want, week is just rewrite the prompts, say, okay, what is giving me something that I'm not looking for? What's the problem here? What's going on? What word, what phrase, what part, or what am I missing? Maybe ChatGPT is giving me something based on the information I shared, but there's this one thing I forgot to mention, and it turns out it was a super important thing, right? And that is what we did. When we were given this video that didn't really exist, we said, okay, one more time. So instead of saying, I like to work with a video, we rewrote that prompt and said, give me a video that I can use with my PG students to talk about hobbies, blah, 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 right? And it took like 30 seconds, but it was just a matter of saying, okay, what's the problem here? Let's change that. Let's tweak that prompt. All right, so how are we doing? So far, so good? Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah. All right, great. Let me check the chat just in case. Yeah, we're doing. All right, cool. Let's keep going. So, a hack. If you are working with a colleague, maybe you're planning things together, you might want to use the very same chat, right? Because you can do that. So if you want to share a chat with a colleague so that you can both work on something together, you just have to click on the button that says share. ChatGPT is going to create a link. You just click where it says create. You're going to copy it and you're going to share it with a colleague. So if you happen to be working on a project together, you happen to be planning something together, whatever, you can do so together and you can use the very same chat. And let me show you a video. So we created the link, we copy the link, we share it with a colleague, and our colleague just has to paste it, and they're going to be able to open it, and they will be able to see everything, all the output and also all the prompts. So if we're going to be working on a project together, you might want to start a new chat, just in case, so that that's the only thing you have there, and they can keep on using ChatGPT, so you can use it together. Something to keep in mind is that if you happen to share a screenshot or a picture or something like that, you won't be able to share that chat. So maybe if you want to share an example or a model with ChatGPT, instead of sharing a screenshot, copy the text and paste it. You won't have any problems if you do that. So just copy it. And then maybe you see a bunch of lesson stages you see on the internet and say, hey, this is what I want. Copy them. Instead of taking a screenshot, copy them and paste them. Because otherwise you're going to see this. It says now you cannot share with conversations with images. And let's see what we can do. There are some other things we can do if we're not getting the results we want. So we can stack prompts. Maybe just sharing lots of things with ChatGPT is not enough because we're looking for something very specific. Or maybe we ourselves don't know what we're looking for really. We know that we need to plan a lesson. We know that we need to plan a project, but I don't even know where to start. So let's see how ChatGPT can help. So imagine we need to work on the passive voice. I don't have a course book. I don't even know where to start. So ChatGPT, what are the uses of the passive voice in English? Because I don't even know what to focus on, what uses to focus on. I don't know how to contextualize this structure to work with my students. So what are the uses of the passive voice? Can you remind me? So here I have, all the uses. Oh, hold on. So here I have a bunch of uses, We can use it to talk about this, to talk about that, when we don't know who performed an action, when we want to be formal. Okay, cool, perfect. Let's do something. Can you give me ideas to go over these uses with my 15-year-old students, but in a meaningful way? I think that looks a bit small, but here we have it bigger. So here we have some ideas, So we can, what do you want to focus on? The action or the person performing it? We can, play a game, Maybe we can play like a detective game. So something was done okay, what happened? A crime was committed. Formal, informal, contrast. We can create a passive voice news report. So we have some practical ideas, right? Then I can say, okay, I like this activity, this one right here, to focus on blah, 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 blah. Can you write instructions for these activities so that my students know what they have to do? Because, and also provide me with an example so that I can see what we're going to end up doing, how this is going to look, all right? So we have these famous landmarks or inventions, right? We have this activity. So the idea is for students to understand when the action is more important than the doer. I like that. I think that it's a very practical way to understand the use of the passive voice. So we have the instructions, right? So look at the pictures in small groups, choose a landmark, describe it using the passive voice. Hey, I think this can work. I think we can do something with it. I like where this is going. I said, can you provide me with an example? So maybe I can use these examples to understand where the lesson plan is going and say, okay, so I'm going to use this and I'm going to ask ChatGPT to get this ready for my students. Or I can use these examples to show my students what they are expected to do. So let me show you some examples, or let's do one together, right? So we can do that. We can ask ChatGPT to come up with a guide for students, right? So here we have a look at the pictures, work in small groups, describe it, write this, do that, right? Maybe I'm working with 35 students. I need them to have a list, right? So I know it depends on you, your students, where you're working. So basically what we did is, instead of just sharing information with ChatGPT, like I need a lesson plan to work on this, this, and this, we broke down the prompt and say, okay, can you give me the uses of this structure? I was told I have to work on the passive voice, but how? Where do I even start? The passive voice can be used for lots of things in English. How can I contextualize it? How can I make it relevant for a bunch of 15-year-olds? So ChatGPT can be there for us, because sometimes that happens. We might not even know where to start. And ChatGPT can help. Or AI, by the way. By the way, I'm talking about ChatGPT, but you can use Claude, Copilot, right? So you pick Gemini. Another thing, this may look like a silly thing, but do it. You can rename your chats, right? You can delete the ones that are not good, or the ones where you have, I don't know, like activities you didn't really like. But if you have a chat where you were able to get like the perfect activity or lesson plan or text or model or whatever, rename the chat and make sure you have it there, because then you might want to come up with an alternative model or with a follow-up activity, or say, oh, I remember this activity I created with ChatGPT, and now I would love to do something like that. But so you go to that same chat, ChatGPT remembers everything, right? It's the very same conversation. So you keep on going. You don't have to start from scratch again. So that can work. Also, if you happen to have like a bunch of prompts that were useful, you can start copying them. You can use a file and you leave everything there. So, okay, I need a lesson plan to work on speaking. I want my students to be able to, practice, to collaborate in English and get ready for this exam. So I can copy that prompt. I know it was good because the last time I used it, it provided me with a very nice activity. So copy it, right? Make sure you have it somewhere. You see, and reuse them. You have them somewhere, so use them again, right? If the prompt was good, save it, use it again. You don't need to rewrite them again and again and again. Just keep them handy, right? And another thing that we can do, because maybe we do everything we have to do. We share all the information we have. We share examples, everything, and we're still not getting what we want. It might happen. So something that we can do is we can go to ChatGPT and click on our profile picture, and we're going to see this menu, and we're going to go to settings, right? And now we're going to click where it says personalization, right? And once we are there, we're going to clear ChatGPT's memories. And this is the thing. ChatGPT is not going to forget you or the things that you shared or anything like that. Not at all. Your chats are still going to be there. So if you happen to say, oh my God, there was this amazing lesson plan, you are still going to be able to find it. You are still going to have your chats. What ChatGPT is going to do is forget the information from that chat, from those chats. And this is what's going to happen. So ChatGPT, or many people started using ChatGPT back in like 2022, right? 2023. And imagine this. So back in 2022, you were a primary school teacher. In 2023, you were also a primary school teacher. In 2024, you were also a primary school teacher. But it's 2025, something changed, and now you are working in a company and you are teaching business English to adults. So whenever you ask for a ChatGPT to come up with a lesson plan or activity for you, you said, hey, this is a bit childish. Hey, this is not what I want. This is not what I was looking for. What's going on? For ChatGPT, you are still that primary school teacher. So go here, clear his memories. Your chats are still going to be there. So if you want to go back, you can. But the moment it provides you with new lesson plans or new activities or new whatever, it's not going to keep that information in mind, right? So here it says, ChatGPT will forget everything it has remembered from your chats, not your chats, from your chats. So it's okay. Your chats are not going anywhere, right? But if you see that, I don't know, you're not getting what you want, maybe say, okay, how have I been using ChatGPT? Have I confused it a little bit, maybe? So let's start again, right? So this is something that we might need to do. I mean, don't do this every month. You don't need to. But if you're not getting the results you need and you're like, what's going on? I'm providing you with everything I have. This might be the solution, right? And remember this. Remember at the beginning we said, let's introduce ourselves to ChatGPT. This information is still going to be there. And also, if you happen to change jobs and again, maybe you're not a primary school teacher anymore. Maybe you're working with adults now. Share that with ChatGPT. Hey, I work at a company. I work with adults now. I teach business English. I'm not going to be teaching the water cycle anymore. That has changed. So that's important also. What other limitations or challenges do you have now? How much time do you have with your students? So some other things to share. All right, and one more thing that we can do if we're not getting the results we want is, once again, go to ChatGPT, click on your profile picture. We are going to go to settings once again, and we're going to go to data controls. Once we click there, we're going to see this, improve the model for everyone. And we want to make sure this is toggled off. Why? Because, whatever happens, whatever I share with you, this is between you and me, ChatGPT. I don't want everyone to, I don't know. I mean, obviously people are not going to know you're the one that shared something with ChatGPT, but whatever happens is between you and me and it stays here. So the moment ChatGPT, I don't know, starts changing or the model improves or whatever, just know that I'm not training you. This is between you and me. I just want the lesson for my lesson plan for my students. So that's it, right? Whatever happens here is between you and me, and you use everything I'm giving you to plan my lessons, but don't use other things, just whatever I'm sharing with you. Right? All right, how are we doing? So far, so good? Yeah. Cool. All right, nice. If not, you guys tell me, all right? All right. So let's talk about gamification now, because there are lots of things that we can do with AI. Mind you, I know that there are lots of things that we can do ourselves because we are teachers and we know what we need, what our students need, right? We were trained for this. So that's super important. But, many teachers work with lots of groups. We have lots of things to do. We have to plan, we have to teach, we have to mark. And, at some point we might be tired, or we might be looking for different ideas or alternatives or whatever. So AI can help. AI is not going to replace us. It's a tool. So you're going to see that most of the games here are games we already play with our students. They're like low prep games, but we can see how we can use AI to prepare them, right? So here are some prompts, right, that we can use. Oh, by the way, when we finish, I'm going to share a handout with a summary of some things and some prompts. So some ideas, quizzes. So create a set of 10 multiple choice questions for a B2 level English class on phrasal verbs related to travel. So each question should have 4 options and 1 correct answer. Maybe it's 11 p.m. Maybe I worked a lot today. Maybe I have to get up early tomorrow. I know I can do this myself because I am the teacher, but AI can help. And maybe instead of just staring at a blank sheet of paper, ChatGPT can provide me with something so that I'm not starting from scratch. And I already have something to work with. And if I already worked on phrasal verbs with my students, I might want to share those phrasal verbs with ChatGPT and end up adding this activity or using this activity as a way to supplement the book I am using, the course book I'm using, right? Because maybe it doesn't have any games and I want to do something fun. So, that's something we can use it for. Or how about this one, an escape room? Design a mystery game for intermediate English learners when students must solve riddles and complete grammar challenges to unlock the final clue. Use the topic of narrative tenses, or use the topic of, I don't know, crime. Use crime, right? Let's use this topic. Or there was a crime committed, I don't know, there was a crime committed in a mansion, I don't know, whatever. And let's focus on narrative tenses, right? And let me show you how we can use it. So this is the very same prompt, right? And the cool thing is that ChatGPT is going to provide us with a riddle. So riddle number 1, location. Challenge. So fill in the blanks with the correct narrative tense. So this is a controlled practice activity, but it's within an escape room, so it's more fun. We have the answer key. And we have the reward. I don't know about you guys, but I always find it very difficult to come up with like rewards and like things to give my students. So, ChatGPT can help too. Riddle number 2, the suspect. Okay, who are we looking for? And then we have the challenge. Identify the narrative tense used and correct the mistakes that we have here. Again, this is a controlled practice activity. For many students, it can be a bit boring, it's like the one in the book, but it's within an escape room, so it's more fun. We have the answer key, and then we have a reward, right? And this is the thing. If, just in case, if it's not the output we're looking for, we recreate it, and again, and again, and again. Now, this is not what I like, this is not what I need. Or we already worked on control practice activities. Now I want more free practice activities. I want students to be able to talk. I want them to write. I want them to produce. You tell him. And this is a thing. Take a look at this. So here we have the same prompt, right? And ChatGPT provided me with a storyline that I could use. So it's like a time traveler's secret. And it says that a famous scientist has gone missing. And, we have a message and we have to use that. We have to see if we can find this scientist. And something that we can do is when we're using it with our students is, for example, I'm teaching online right now, so I can copy this element like the storyline and I can head to Google Forms and I can just paste it there. So it says, dear students, Dr. Everly, the famous scientist, has disappeared. So, I just paste it there. And again, ChatGPT provided me with element number 2, a riddle. So I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it there. And then we have the task and I'm also going to paste it there. And the cool thing is that students can start working together. They can go to breakout rooms or they can work together at school. They can use their phones, right? Because, in some cases, it's not easy to get them to move around the classroom. Maybe we don't have enough space. That might happen. So we can create a Google Forms and, they have to answer correctly. Otherwise, they won't be able to move on. But hey, maybe other teams have already moved on. So you have to focus or you have to work or you have to whatever. You can go back to your notes, right? I don't know, but it makes it way more engaging. So as you can see, ChatGPT here provided me with 3 sentences students have to complete. And here I only included 1 because, you have you can design, you can pick, or you can do multiple choice questions here for your students. So, but you're going to have to include the options. And then you need like another, you see, here we have sentence number 2. So we're going to have to divide some things so that students can pick the right options every now and then whenever they need to. And that's pretty much it. Again, if we don't like whatever ChatGPT provided us with, we can regenerate it or ask for a different alternative, but we have something to work with. And if we like them, it's a matter of copying, pasting, preparing everything for our students. We have something to work with already. Let me go back. Bingo, how about that one? Generate a vocabulary bingo activity for advanced students. Provide a list with 20 business-related words and create sentences using those words for me to read aloud. It's bingo. I'm a teacher. I can do that myself. Yes, I know. But I've been working all day long. I have lots of things to mark. ChatGPT, can you help me? Can you help me come up with the sentences I can use with my students, right? Because I don't want to share like random words. I want to contextualize things. So can you help me with that? Because that sometimes takes time. Or how about this one? Would you rather? Generate 10 would you rather questions using comparatives and superlatives for upper intermediate students. I'm a teacher. I can do this myself. But ChatGPT, what questions would you come up with? I don't know, surprise me, right? So just something to keep in mind. Let me move on. So these are the escape rooms. Oh, by the way, now I'm going to share a handout with you, and I've included a link to a very, very nice tutorial where a teacher teaches us how to create a digital escape room using Google Forms. It's really practical. It's a very straightforward thing. So I'm going to share the link with you just in case you want to check that out. Again, it's a matter of copying and pasting and everything, but if you've never used it before, you need to know how to make sure students go back, when they don't get something right. So that video is going to help if it's the very first time you're using Google Forms. So there's that. All right, some other things that we might want to do. We can play board games with our students. So we say, okay, design a board game for a lesson plan on the passive voice, for a lesson on the passive voice. Include 20 tasks that my students must complete before they land on each square. Or it can be 20 sentences, or it can be 20 questions, or it can be whatever, right? And talking about board games, let me show you this. So we can share this, right, with ChatGPT. So you're an experienced teacher of English, come up with 15 sentences with a gap to complete for each cell of a board game to revise the uses of gerunds and infinitives with my B2 team students. So this is basically a control practice activity that maybe we already have in a course book or whatever, but we're trying to bringing it out of the, bringing it out of the page, right? We want to do something that's a bit more fun and engaging. So we can head to Canva, right? Just type board game, pick a template that we like. Once we're there, for example, I like this one, so I'm going to select it. And let me show you, we can do this live. So, hold on, I have everything ready. So here, this is Canva, this is my account. So board game, there. So as you can see, there are some that I already created. But if you scroll down, you're going to see there are lots of templates, right? I really like this one. I always end up using the same one. So I'm going to customize it. So let's see. So this is really nice. I'm going to use this one with my students. Now, maybe if you guys are working face-to-face, you might want to use this one, right? So that you can print it. If there's something you don't need or you don't want, just, get rid of it, right? I'm not going to need this. So let's see. This is, let me show you the chat. So it's the very same chat I shared with you. So you're an experienced teacher of English, come up with 15 sentences with a gap to complete, blah, 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 blah. Control practice activity, right? I could have maybe shared the verbs that we worked on with my students to make it even more specific. That's up to you. So let's do the following. So I'm not going to need this. I'm not going to need this. I'm not going to need this or this or this or this. But let's see. So gerunds and infinitives. All right. So that looks good. Now I'm going to go to where it says text and I'm going to click here. So now I have this. Good. I'm going to, I think that looks good. What do you guys think? There we have it. Let's go to ChatGPT. Let's see. I can imagine. I like it. We talked about the verb imagine. Good. So I'm going to copy it, right? So copy. Let's go back to Canva. I'm going to click here, get rid of that, paste. All right. Now I'm going to make it fit the space we have. All right, good. Now, let's see. I'm going to copy it. Let's put it here. Back to ChatGPT. She promised him. Oh, we didn't talk about the verb promise. Okay, so next lesson. All right. Admit it. Oh, yeah, we talked about this one. We can practice. Yeah. So let's go back to Canva. I'm going to paste it. Good. And I can keep going. Right? And if you're working face-to-face, you can ask your students to take a die to the school, or you can take one, right? And if you're working online, you can take your students to breakout rooms and you can share this link with them. It's called Die Online, I think. That's what I typed. And so you just, sit there. So they come here, right? 1, 2, 3, and they're going to see the sentence, right? That they have to complete. I don't remember. He admitted cheating. He admitted to cheat. I don't know. We have to go back to the book. We have to go back to our notes, right? We're just practicing. It's okay. It's not a quiz, not a test, not a memory test. So I don't remember. Let's go back. And so now they go back to their notes. Okay, let's complete it. Cool. And then when we check, we can. Okay, so number 1, that is how we can complete it. Cool. Number 2, who completed that one? You? How did you do that? Okay, good. Perfect. Number 3, no. Oh, no one? No. Okay. Take a moment to read it. How would you complete it? Right? So we can do it together. But at some point we end up checking because again, it's fun, but this is still a class, right? It's a lesson. So it's a control practice activity. We're going to check all together. So there we go. All right, so that's how we can do it. And it takes a couple of minutes. That's the cool thing. All right, let me go back. Here, spelling or vocabulary challenges. Create a list of 10 scrambled words for a vocabulary lesson on adjectives with ed and ing endings. Include hints for each word. So I'm not going to be asking my students to guess. This is not a guessing game. This is the lesson. So help me come up with hints, give me some context so that students can say, oh, okay, so it's excited, so not exciting. I see. All right, because I'm describing the way I feel and I'm not describing the way I am or whatever, right? Or something else. So cool. ChatGPT can help us contextualize things. So that's the cool part. How about some memory matching games? Create or come up with a list of 10 vocabulary items about emotions and give me their definitions and use that to create a memory matching game, right? Or if we're teaching face to face, we might want to print that, copy the word, cut the words and the definitions, and then use that to play with our students, face to face. So that's also an option. Taboo. I mean, I think that's as easy as it can get, right? Again, we're teachers, we can do this ourselves, but maybe we have lots of things to do. So create a list of 15 or come up with a list of 15 words, right, for intermediate students to play, and include 3 taboo words for each one, and focus on travel-related terms, right? Or use these words. I already know what vocabulary items I want to work on with my students because these are the ones that we're going to be focusing on today. But give me a list of 3 taboo words or 3 words they cannot use for each one, or a bunch of synonyms or other ways to say the same thing, or whatever, right? Of course, if we don't like them, we can regenerate it, we can edit things, right? But we have something to work with, which is cool. All right, nice. So we have the board game right here. There we go. And a quick bonus, there is a site called AI for Education, and it's got like a prompt library, and it's really cool because if you happen to be looking for lesson plans or I don't know, here it says, for example, you want to design a PBL lesson plan or a quiz, or you need to design the rubrics you're going to be using to assess your students, or I don't know, some graphic organizer to introduce a topic or whatever, you just have to click here and you're going to find like a bunch of prompts that you can copy and paste on ChatGPT. Of course, you're going to have to tweak them a little bit because you're going to have to tell ChatGPT, we're going to be working on the water cycle, we're going to be working on narrative tenses, we're going to be talking about our last holidays, whatever. But it's kind of like a template that we can use. And if you're designing some or prompting and you're like, okay, I'm not getting what I want, or how was I supposed to structure my prompt, or I don't remember what information I was supposed to include. So you can come here, copy it, and paste it, tweak it a little bit, and that's about it. So something to keep in mind, it's free. It's there on the internet, so it's really, really cool. Has anyone got any questions or doubts or no? No? All right, I see some people smiling, so I guess it was good. All right, so thank you guys for joining. And let me do this. So I will go to the chat. So here is a handout with a summary of some of the things we talked about today. Here is a certificate of attendance. Some people asked about it, so here is one. And if you happen to want to share your thoughts on the workshop, here is a Google form where you can use to do that. All right. Cool. All right. Great. Any questions? Or let me know if you can open everything, if you can see everything. Thank you, Nadia. Thank you very much. I'm glad you liked it. Thank you, Lou. All right. And if you guys happen to be using AI, I don't know, you're not getting the results you want or anything, or